day, but we don't want to think about it. So we have an assumption, because I'm alive yesterday, I'm going to be alive today. So we need to, one of the many things, basically what Buddha is saying is that we suffer because we have misconceptions from the most gross to the most subtle level. And this is one of the misconceptions. Therefore we suffer, because we have a view about reality that isn't in sync with reality. So it's counteracted. To think, well, here we are today, amazing. And karmically, it's literally the third kind of karma. The experience is similar to the cause. And in this case, the experience is similar to the cause that we created in the past of non-killing is the reason that we're still breathing, that there's still gas in our tank, basically. It's like that. And death is when the tank runs out. And we don't have clairvoyance, so we don't know when that will be. So with that sense of urgency, we have this thought, not fear of death, but the recognition of the fact of it. Don't know when it will be, but I've got this precious human life this second, so I'm not going to waste a moment of it. That's a sense of urgency to get. It energizes us. So for this 30 minutes, we're going to do a little contemplation to make the most of this next 30 minutes. So in all our sessions, we're going to just visualize Vajrasattva, Buddha's Vajrasattva, in the sky in front of us, really. We'll think like that. Maybe above our heads. No, in the sky in front. We'll imagine that. We'll describe who he is later. So right now we visualize Vajrasattva, the Buddha, in this particular aspect from Tantra, from the Vajrayana, in the Bodhisattva aspect, radiant light body, white light body, very beautiful, radiant, blissful, in this subtle form of the Buddha that's visible only to the Arya Bodhisattvas. And if we have a spiritual teacher, a spiritual mentor, a guru, a lama, we imagine it's their mind manifesting as the Buddha for our benefit. So he's sitting on a multicolored lotus. I think it's a multicolored lotus. And on the lotus is a sun disk and a moon disk, like two flat cushions that represent wisdom and emptiness, wisdom and compassion. And in the Bodhisattva aspect, as I said, like a kind of like a royal Indian kind of style, royal aspect, elegant, beautiful. In his left hand, a bell, which represents wisdom. In his right hand, a dorje or vajra, representing compassion. And they're crossed at his heart. The union of these two, wisdom and compassion. And in just silken clothes we see in the pictures. Beautiful face, radiant, blissful, clear, infinitely compassionate, infinitely wise. And in the style of the Bodhisattva, hair held up in a top knot. Everything's made of light, radiant, beautiful. Should just lift our hearts, thinking of him as like a mirror image of our own potential, showing us what we can become. So just have him there throughout the session. So now we can do a couple of techniques, little concentration techniques. One of them is a simple concentration technique, and the second one is using the breath also. We'll use the breath, but it's a little visualization as well. So the first one we'll do is based on this samadhi technique, this technique that the genius Indians invented many thousands of years ago to help us. The goal of it is concentration. The goal of it is single-pointedness. So the technique is in itself quite simple, technically. So check our body first. Upright. Relaxed but upright. Hand in the gesture, prayer, the prayer mudra, the meditation. What's it called? I forget. Something in our lap. Head slightly tilted forward. Chin tucked in. Breathing through our nose, eyes looking down. So with concentration, we need something to focus on. So the focal point here, in example of one, is the breath. and the natural movement of the breath at the tip of our nose as we breathe in and out. So first, let's locate that sensation, roughly that feeling at the tip of your nose as you breathe in and out. That sensation there. That's what we'll attempt to focus on. So identify it first. Take a couple of breaths. So what we're going to do, there's various parts of our mind. We'll talk about this later. There's various bits and pieces of our mind all doing their job, you know. We say, I am watching my breath, and we get too caught up in that sense of an I. Don't think like that. There's various parts. For example, one part is called attention. It's a specific part of the mind that pays attention. That's the part that's going to be watching the breath. There's another part called mindfulness, another mental factor. And that's sort of, think of it like sitting there watching the attention. And the moment attention wanders off, mindfulness's job is to bring it back. Even as these two, think of these two pieces of our mind doing their job together. So we're going to pay attention. I'm going to pay attention to that sensation. So naturally, we won't stay there. Even half a second, the mind is already full of thoughts when we're overwhelmed by our conceptual thoughts. So it's not as if you have to make the thoughts go away, or don't be stressed by the thoughts, or don't wish they weren't there. The aim of this isn't to relax. The aim of this is not to have a good feeling. It's a very simple technical thing. We're going to have the determination to pay attention to that sensation. That's it. So you leave the thoughts there. Let them come and let them go. It's like you're driving the car on the freeway. You're absolutely single-pointedly focused, aren't you, on exactly your job. You won't even lose concentration for 1 second, but you're totally aware of everything happening, but you don't pay attention to it. So it's that. Just pay attention to the breath. And then if you wander off, the two main obstacles, one is you get overexcited and the thoughts never stop, or extra excited, or you space out. So we have to, the mindfulness is if you like, is just, or there's another part of the mind that's called vigilance. His Holiness Dalai Lama calls it like the policeman. And if you like, that's even watching and checking that all the bits are doing their job, you know. I mean, it sounds busy, but this is what's happening. So the simple thing is just pay attention to the breath. Every time it wanders off, bring it back. And even if you bring it back 50 times a minute, don't be unhappy. That's good. Spacing out and thinking you're having a nice time is, you miss the point. So with determination, just for a few minutes, we'll do 2 lots of 5 minutes of this one, or 3 minutes, perhaps 3 minutes. Pay attention to the breath. Just the breath. So just for 30 seconds, just stop the concentration. We did an entire retreat one time with Lama Yeshe. We'd do these sessions, and he'd make us do 5-minute sessions. And it's actually quite powerful because you really make the most of every one, to have this attempt to stay the mind, keep the mind. So just relax for a few seconds and then start again. Every second, try to be focusing. Try to not lose 1 second as the breath goes out, as the breath comes in. Stay on and adjusting. Those other parts of your mind are kind of checking things, not to space out, not to get overexcited, just to stay on the breath. Just let the thoughts be there. Just all the focus on the breath. So now with this focused mind, let's do the other technique. It's called the 9-round breathing. All the Tibetans, the Lamas, recommend this as a technique before your other main sessions. Usually if you're doing lots of retreats, you do this first to steady the mind, and you're using the breath. And it's also got some visualization, which makes it very nice. So basically, we're going to do 3 sets of 3 breaths. The first 3, you're visualizing, imagining all the air leaving through the left nostril. So you actually even use your fingers to block the nose. We don't need to do that. So you just visualize, imagine through the left nostril, all the air leaving completely, and you imagine it being your attachment energy. These 3 poisons, okay, the essence of all the neuroses in our mind. So the attachment energy is this, dissatisfaction, always wanting something more, never content with who we are, never thinking we have enough, all the kind of possessiveness, the anticipating, the projecting into the future, exaggerating of delicious things, all of this attachment, which is primordial within us, all of this energy. As far as the 4 Noble Truths are concerned, this is the main source of our pain, and it goes to incredibly subtle levels. All of that, happily imagine, disappearing like yucky smoke through your left nostril, disappearing into space. The next 3, or your aversion. It's called anger, but actually there's a subtler level of it. It's aversion, irritation, upset, frustrated. These are all variations of anger, which is when attachment doesn't get what it wants. So all of that completely disappearing. When we get upset, can't cope with problems, get angry, get irritated, annoyed, frustrated, criticizing people, because our attachment's not being satisfied, All of that through the right nostril, totally disappearing into space. Not 1 atom left. And the next three is both nostrils, and it's all the ignorance energy. So particularly the kind of indifference, uncaring kind of energy, an aspect of ignorance, the root delusion, totally disappearing into space. So then you can add a nice, loving, as she says, when you breathe in, you imagine breathing in the opposite. So when we first breathe in, we breathe in all the blissful light of all the holy beings, all our own potential for goodness and non-attachment, completely blissful light filling us and then driving out through the left nostril all the attachment energy. And then the next three, through the left nostril, the blissful light, all the non-angry energy, all the qualities of the enlightened beings that is our own potential, blissful light through the left nostril, driving out, filling us, and then driving out through the right nostril, all the aversion, anger energy. And then the next three, both the ignorance, the opposite, the blissful light, all the potential, all the holy beings entering into us, driving out all the negative energy. So focusing on this, and you take full, complete breaths, but not forced. And if you forget what you're doing, just start again. Go at your own pace. Breathing in and out through your nose. So now we visualize, we stop that one, and now we imagine Buddha very happily from the sky comes and sits above our heads, facing the same way as us. Actually, his lotus, imagine his lotus dissolves into his body first. Imagine dissolves into light, and he comes very happily sitting above our heads, facing the same way as us. It's an enlightened mind manifesting in this aspect. Oneness with the mind of our Lama, our teacher, our spiritual teacher, our mentor, for our sake, thinking like that. And then he very happily dissolves into white light, just dissolves, comes through your crown, dissolves into you. And you just think, body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, body, speech, and mind of my spiritual teacher, and my body, speech, mind. Same thing. This is my true nature. Buddha. Free of all the delusions and full of all the goodness. My natural state. And now again, I have a sense of expanding to fill the universe. Blissful, clear, vast. No thoughts. And now we think we're going to aspire to then use the rest of the day as well as we can. We're going to have our breakfast. So we think that breakfast. It's the think of the different meditations we can do with our meals. One of them is to think of the kindness of the people who did it, so that whatever the food is, it came from the ground, probably not animals, not sure, but many creatures would have died for the picking of these vegetables. Perhaps it came from the chooks, I don't know, chickens. We call them chooks in Australia. The eggs, perhaps we have eggs, I don't know. The milk came from the cows, maybe. So all these sentient beings, through the hard work, we got breakfast. The creatures who died for us to get breakfast, the people who grew the food, who drove the food, who sold the food, who cut the food, who cooked the food, all of these sentient beings, so many of them. Because of them, we get breakfast. So we think we're going to eat this delicious breakfast so we can be fat and healthy, so we can continue to practice developing our true nature, so we can repay their kindness. Think like that. But also, we're going to add an offering. The big one for, especially in the Tibetan tradition, is to offer the food. So we imagine all the beings of the universe, all these beings who've helped us, supported us, but all the suffering beings, all the holy beings, all the Buddhas, vastest space. We imagine all of them. Imagine this delicious food, and we imagine offering. If we could, we would offer it to all of them. Imagine as vast as space, this food. And you imagine they experience the joy of receiving it. Lama Sangye Lama Che Dejen Lama Gedonte Kungi Jepo Lama Te Lama Namla Chirpa Bul. And just finish with the 4 immeasurable thoughts. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could be free of equanimity. What? That's not right. The opposite. How wonderful sentient beings could have equanimity, free of attachment, ignorance, and anger. May they have them. Or they may, yeah, whatever the words, I forget. Now, this is the aspect of the bodhisattva, the brave attitude of the bodhisattva. I will make this happen. Please, please, Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it will be if all sentient beings could be free of suffering and its causes. May they be free. I will make this happen. Please, Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could have happiness and its causes. And as Amazopa reminds us, especially enlightenment, may they have them. I will make this happen. Please, Buddha Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from higher rebirths and liberations, excellent bliss. May they never be parted. I will make this happen. Please, Guru Buddha Vajrasattva, bless me to be able to do this. Okay, so we're going to have our breakfast, but I'm sure maybe Vincent in England is going to have his lunch, and Kelly in Australia is going to have a late night supper at 10 p.m. But we're going to have our breakfast, you people, and we're going to be silent also. Remember, silent, keep in retreat mode until after breakfast, until the next session. Well, after breakfast, but yeah, the next session. Thank you, everybody. See you all in hour at 7:30, 8:30, hour and a half.